So today I'll be talking about ANS, which means Autonomic Nervous System. Now, the autonomic nervous system is a branch of peripheral nervous system which plays major roles in the control of organs of the body, their secretions and movement. Now, classification of nervous system. The nervous system is generally classified into two, which are 1. Central nervous system and 2. Peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system consists of autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. Now, autonomic nervous system consists of sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, and enteric nervous system. Other neurotransmitters of the autonomic nervous system. There are two major neurotransmitters of the autonomic nervous system. We have the acetylcholine used by parasympathetic nervous system and noradrenaline used by the sympathetic nervous system. So what are the functions of autonomic nervous system? Now, on the heart. Now, the parasympathetic will cause decrease in the activity of the heart, while the sympathetic will cause increase in the activities of the heart. On the GIT, the parasympathetic will cause increase in secretion motility of the GIT, while sympathetic would do the opposite. On respiratory system, the parasympathetic actually will cause bronchoconstriction, while the sympathetic will cause bronchodilation. Or urinary system, when you talk about the kidney only has the sympathetic, and this causes the release of renin. When we talk about the ureter and the urinary bladder, now the parasympathetic would cause contraction, while the sympathetic would cause relaxation. On reproductive system, for the male, the parasympathetic actually causes erection, while the sympathetic causes ejaculation. When you talk about the female, the uterus only have the sympathetic, and the sympathetic only causes relaxation of the uterus. On the eye, the parasympathetic will cause pupillary constriction, and while the sympathetic will cause the dilation. On blood vessels, the blood vessels mostly have sympathetic would actually cause vasoconstriction. That's the only thing it has. Now, exocrine glands, the parasympathetic will cause increase in secretions and all that, while the sympathetic will cause decrease. Now, but things like lacrimal gland only have parasympathetic, and that can only cause secretion of tears. And sweat glands can only has both sympathetic and parasympathetic. Parasympathetic cause increase in secretion. Now, receptors for autonomic nervous system. There are two major receptors for the autonomic nervous system. We have the adrenergic receptors and we have the cholinergic receptors. Adrenergic receptors for noradrenaline, and then cholinergic receptors for acetylcholine. We are going to have to take these receptors one after the other. And that's what we're going to be looking at shortly. Now, the first receptor we're going to be talking about is the adrenergic receptors. There are two adrenergic receptors. We have the alpha receptors and the beta receptors. Now, the alpha receptors, there are two types of alpha receptors. We have the alpha 1 and alpha 2 type of receptors. Now, the places where you can find these alpha receptors are blood vessels, prostate, and medulla oblongata. An example of places where you can find the beta receptors is on the heart. You can also find it on in the GIT tract. You can find your respiratory system. You can find the urinary tract system. So we have two types of beta receptors though. We have the beta 1 and the beta 2 types of receptors. So we'll be looking at the next receptor, which is the cholinergic receptors. Now there are two types of cholinergic receptors. We have one, the muscarinic receptors, and two, the nicotinic receptors. Now the muscarinic receptors got this name because of the response to muscarine, and nicotinic receptors because of the respond more to nicotine. Now muscarinic receptors can be located in places like the gastric parietal cells, can be located on the heart, can be located on exocrine glands, and then the muscarinic receptors, examples we have M1, M2, and M3. Nicotinic receptors can be found on the CNS, the adrenal medulla, and the ganglia. These are the places you can find the nicotinic receptors. Then muscarinic and nicotinic receptors are the two cholinergic receptors we have for ANS neurotransmitters. Thank you very much for today's section. My name is Amadichi Kadebia. For more interesting videos, kindly subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. Thank you once more.